All right, let's get right into it. Forces Network has just dropped their October 2025 E-Zine, and this month they are diving deep into a really fascinating new frontier for Indian veterans, Nigeria. We're going to break down what they're calling a high-gain opportunity, talk about the realities on the ground, and pull out some absolutely critical lessons for your next career move. So check this out. The magazine doesn't just call Nigeria a job location, it calls it a high-gain posting. Now that's language we understand, right? It's a place where the skills you sharpened over years in the service are not just wanted, they're in incredibly high demand. So you're probably asking, why Nigeria of all places? What makes this West African powerhouse such a hotspot? Well, let's find out. Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the Nigerian opportunity itself. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of life on the ground. After that, we're going to switch gears and do a deep dive into our healthcare system, ECS. Then we've got an incredible story of a veteran's 18-year corporate career, and we'll wrap it all up with a look at your next mission. First up, the Nigerian opportunity. So really, why Nigeria? Well, it boils down to a perfect storm of explosive economic growth and a serious need for what the magazine calls the veteran advantage. I absolutely love this quote from the editor's note. It reframes everything. The global economy is your new theater of operations. Think about it like that. Suddenly, Nigeria isn't just another country with a job opening. It's a strategic posting, a high-gain one, for those who have the skills and the guts to navigate the terrain. So where exactly is this veteran advantage in demand? Well, have a look. We're talking about the absolute core engines of Nigeria's economy: telecom, oil and gas, massive infrastructure projects. All these sectors are crying out for leaders who can handle complex operations under immense pressure and deliver with discipline. Sound familiar? Yeah, that is the veteran skill set, in a nutshell. Okay, so we've covered the why, but what's it really like? What's the how? You know, the magazine got some incredible interviews with veterans who are actually there, on the ground, and their advice is pure gold for anyone even thinking about this path. All right, let's be real for a second. The magazine gives a really clear-eyed, no-nonsense look at the situation. On the one hand, the upsides are huge. We're talking serious saving potential with tax-free dollar salaries and the company covering your housing and transport. But, and this is a big but, the other side of the coin is just as real. Security is a major concern. The work culture is 24/7 demanding, and it's not always the easiest place for a family. It's a rewarding post for sure, but it is not an easy one. So, what does it actually take to make it there? The guys on the ground, they all say pretty much the same things. You've got to be hands-on, boots on the ground. You have to be willing to adapt, to unlearn some of that military rigidity and learn the corporate dance. Things like influencing people when you don't have authority over them. And that last point about upskilling, yeah, that's not a nice to have. It's a must-do to survive and get ahead. Okay, this is super important, so pay attention. Let's talk money. You have to set yourself up right from day one. The strategy is simple, but it's brilliant. Your dollar salary, that goes straight into a tax-free NRE account in India. You don't touch it. Your pension goes into a separate NRO account. You live off the local salary they give you, and you save almost all of that dollar income. And that point about housing and transport, that's not a perk. That's a non-negotiable part of the deal you need to secure. All right, we're going to switch gears for a moment, because whether you're taking a high-stakes job in Nigeria or building a career back home, there's one thing that's always in the back of your mind: your long-term well-being. And that brings us to our foundational support system, ECHS. The magazine landed a remarkably candid interview with its former managing director, and honestly, it's something every veteran needs to understand. To really get your head around the sheer scale of ECHS, just look at that number: 12,000 crore rupees. Every single year. That's not just a big number, that is massive. It makes ECHS one of the largest government-sponsored health schemes on the entire planet. But here's where it gets really interesting. Where does all that cash come from? Well, yeah, the government puts in the lion's share, but look at that middle bar. 2,400 crores. That comes directly from veterans every year by giving up your fixed medical allowance. It's basically an annual premium that you're paying into the system, and it's a huge chunk of the funding. But for all its size, the system is under some serious strain. The former MD was brutally honest about it. There's a mountain of debt owed to hospitals, which means hospitals are just walking away from the scheme. And get this. The rates ECHS pays them haven't been properly updated since 2014. Imagine running a business on decade-old prices. It's important to understand these pressures because they explain a lot of the frustrations you might face when you use the system. This brings us to a special feature that honestly might be the most valuable part of the whole magazine. It's called Mission Accomplished. It's basically an incredible mentorship session disguised as an article, telling the story of Lt. Colonel Vivek's entire 18-year corporate journey right from the day he took PMR to the day he retired from his second career. And man, look at this path. It was not a straight line to the top. This was not a smooth ride. After leaving the service, he had to go back and get certified just to get a foot in the door. He survived corporate restructurings. He even got laid off when his company was bought out. This isn't a story about an easy win. It's a story about resilience and playing the long game. So what did he learn through all that? Well, here's reality check number 1. The assumption is, my military skills are all I need. The hard reality? The corporate world speaks only one language: business results. As he says, every penny spent must translate into business results. Your technical skills are just the entry ticket. And then there's this one. This one really hits home. You think your master's degree and your years of distinguished service are enough? Wrong. The industry has its own filters, its own gatekeepers. For him, that gatekeeper was a PMP certification. Without that piece of paper, he couldn't even get in the room. It was totally non-negotiable. Okay, so we've been to Nigeria, we've gone under the hood of ECHS, and we've walked through an 18-year corporate marathon. What does all of this mean for you and your journey beyond the uniform? Let's put it all together. If you take away nothing else, remember these things. Those big global jobs, they're rewarding, but they demand total commitment. Continuous learning isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival skill. You absolutely must understand your support systems like ECHS, both the good and the bad. You have to learn to translate your military excellence into the language of business results. And finally, buckle up. This second career, it's a marathon with hurdles, not a sprint. And so we're going to leave you with this one final question. The big theme here is evolution. Look, we all know you can lead under fire. Your discipline, your integrity, that is your bedrock. That's a given. But the world outside the uniform demands new tools for a new mission. So the question to ask yourself is a personal one. What is the one skill you need to acquire right now to command success in your next mission?